bodies. These are people. These are human beings who deserve dignity and deserve respect in death as they do in life. That toll has risen officially. In terms of the collection, though, of people, the burial of people, what's happening?
Well, we have seen in the past 24 hours, certainly I've seen the effort to collect those bodies that line the streets. The government saying they're always fresh bodies, but us, frankly, thinking these are the same left day after day. That collection has certainly got underway. Now, where I'm standing is where they finally come. This orange truck behind me right now, absolutely loaded to the brim with bodies brought in from the city itself. This is where really the grim task of accounting those dead happens. Behind me here, these are the bodies which they believe they are able to identify, that they know who they actually are. And during the morning, we've seen a slow and steady stream of relatives trying to get news, trying to work out exactly whether these bodies are those they've been looking for. Two people turning up, finding bureaucratically they're simply not able to match up their ID cards with the catchment area or the bureaucratic scheme that brings the bodies here. These bodies, though, these are identified. People seem to believe they know who they are. So many of these bodies, though, hard to distinguish because of the damage the water's taken upon them, the damage of decay. I've spoken to one man this morning who said quite simply that he'd found his father amongst these bodies here, came here from Manila in the bid to bury him separately, but does believe his mother, yet to be identified, may be amongst these body bags here, Anderson.
It's one of the horrors of a situation like this, and you can't really understand it until you have actually seen what happens to people who have been outside, who have drowned under these kind of conditions. But without getting into too many details, it's very hard to identify people, even if they are your closest loved one. Often you cannot tell who that you are looking at. And imagine that horror of going and looking at hundreds of people, of dead people, and not being able to tell who your wife is, who your child is. It's just one of the many horrors that we are seeing on the ground in the disaster zone. Nick, we'll talk to you later on in the program. We left Tacloban for logistical reasons a few hours ago, really, overnight here in the Philippines, and it's now Friday morning here in the Philippines. Basically the 7-day week-long anniversary from when the storm took place. Before we left, we went back out into the neighborhoods that we had first visited, a neighborhood not far from the airport, just to see and try to reconnect with some of the people we met just 2 days before to see if they had received help. We thought that if any place was able to get aid quickly, was able to get help, even searching for lost loved ones, it would be an area very close to the airport. Here's what we saw. A body covered in a sheet, another in a makeshift coffin. There are flowers, but no names. No one seems to notice anymore. To survive, the living are told to forget the past, forget the dead, but that, of course, is impossible. Juan Merto tries to stay busy. His child is missing. He still doesn't use the word dead. Juan's father lays in their shack, his back injured in the storm. This family has suffered more than anyone ever should. How high was the water? The water was as tall as that tree. Janitus Merto's 2 children slipped from her grasp and drowned. I did all that I could, she says, but I let them go. What can you say in the face of such sadness? Juvelin Taniega is trying to keep busy. She's collected old dishes and is cleaning them up. We first met Juvelin on Tuesday. She showed us the bodies of 3 of her children. She placed them in a piece of luggage under a sheet. She was searching for her 3 other children. Has anyone come to help you? I really want to see them, she says, even if it's just their bodies. 2 days later, and she still hasn't found her 3 other children. Has there been any help since we saw you? None, she says. My children are decomposing. They're still there. No help, no local government officials, no city officials, says Juvelin's father. Nobody is showing themselves. His injured son Jericho sits silently listening. Jericho's mother is dead, so is his aunt and 9 of his cousins. In a daze, he asks me, when is my mother coming back? He never ever says she's missing. He still thinks she will come back. We didn't know there was a tsunami, he says. We thought it was just a storm.
You didn't know that there would be this storm surge of water?
We've been through so many storms, he says. There have been many times before our house gets destroyed and we just hide behind a tree. But there's no water, it's just wind. It's the water that killed us.
If somebody had told you it would be like a tsunami, you would have left?
Oh yes, he says. We would have left right away. Jericho wants to leave now on a C-130, the kind of plane he sees every day overhead flying evacuees to Manila. His father tells him they have to stay. They have no money, just each other. That's all that's left.
It's been almost a week since the typhoon hit, and the initial adrenaline of the storm and its aftermath is faded, and just the grim reality of what life is now has taken its place. People are trying to kind of rebuild is too strong a word, just trying to survive as best they can. People have hung up some washing on a shack that they put together out of scraps of corrugated tin that they've been able to salvage. You see women doing washing of plates and clothing, whatever they can find that they used to own that's been spread out through all this area. You see people all the time now just walking around trying to find their possessions, just trying to find family photographs and plates and all the little things that make up a person's life.
Survival is still a struggle, for some more than most. 2 days ago, we met Dick Asperas, sharing some rice with his neighbors. He desperately wanted to call his mother in Manila to let her know he was alive, though his wife and 2 of his 3 children were not. We dialed her number for him on our satellite phone. They're all gone. They're gone, he says. They're all gone. We're the only ones who survived. Just the 2 of us survived, he says. I don't know why this happened to me. We found Dick Asperas again today.
Are you?
His grief is still overwhelming. He can't stop thinking about seeing his family drown in the storm. The first one that I saw was my youngest, he says. She fainted and then she drowned. The water was so fast. And then my wife, when I tried to grab her, I missed her, and then she drowned. Then I never saw her again. He admits he often thinks of killing himself, but hasn't because he still has 1 child who needs him. It's like I don't want to live anymore because of what happened to my family, he tells me. All of us here lost our loved ones, but all I'm saying is people have different ways of dealing with it, how we feel. In my case, I can't handle it. In Tacloban, there is little time for grief, little chance for comfort. Between death and life, the line is thin. Sometimes there's no line at all.
Well, if you've been watching our coverage over the past week, you know that we've been on the ground in Tacloban and elsewhere trying to be as accurate as possible. Accuracy is what we care most about here at CNN, giving information that might actually help people on the ground and help the relief effort in some way become more efficient. In our reporting, it seems, though, here in the Philippines, it's become something of a political issue at times. A radio broadcaster named Karina Sanchez has barely taken issue with some of my reporting. She also is not just a radio broadcaster, she happens to be the wife of the Interior Minister who's overseeing the relief effort on the ground. Ms. Sanchez seems to be under the mistaken impression that I said I saw no presence of the Philippine government on the ground in Tacloban. I never said that. Obviously, I have been on the ground in Tacloban for days, and I've in fact interviewed a very heroic Philippine Navy captain, Captain Santiago, who's going out and helping people. I've seen the work that's being done and the work that isn't being done, perhaps even as importantly. Ms. Sanchez is welcome to go there, and I would urge her to go there. I don't know if she has, but her husband's the Interior Minister. I'm sure she could arrange a flight. Here's the broadcast that I think she thinks I said something that I didn't say, and here's what I actually said. As for who exactly is in charge of the Philippine side of this operation, that is not really clear. I mean, I'm just surprised that I expected on this day 5, I thought I had maybe gotten here very late, that things would be well in hand. It does not seem like that. People are desperate. People do not have any place for shelter. It's very difficult for people to get food. Neighbors are helping out neighbors. Water is in short supply. It is a very, very bad situation here. Let's remember, I showed you a clinic several days ago that was at the airport that the doctors there said they didn't have enough food, they didn't have enough water for the hundreds of people they were seeing every single day, that they didn't have enough medical supplies. That's a clinic at the airport. If any clinic in the entire disaster zone should be able to receive aid quickly and easily, it's the clinic at the airport, and they were not getting it. I don't know what the situation is there today. I certainly pray to God that it is a better situation than it was even 2 days ago. The president of the Philippines has also counseled foreign journalists that they should be accurate in their reports, and we certainly appreciate that counsel. Accuracy is what we strive for. I read in the paper today, it's the first time I've been able to read the news, the president also said in a speech that the media should use our role to uplift the spirits of the Filipino people, to find stories of resilience, of hope, of faith, and show the world how strong the Filipino people are. I would actually say that all week long, in every report we have done, we have shown how strong the Filipino people are. The Filipino people, the people of Tacloban and Samar and Cebu and all these places where so many have died, they are strong not just to have survived this storm, but they are strong to have survived the aftermath of this storm. They have survived for a week now, often with very little food, with very little water, with very little medical attention. Can you imagine the strength it takes to be living in a shack, to be sleeping on the streets next to the body of your dead children? Can you imagine that strength? I can't. And I've seen that strength day in and day out here in the Philippines. And we honor them with every broadcast that we do. We're going to take a quick break. Our coverage from the Philippines is going to continue. We're also going to have domestic news from the United States, big developments in the Obamacare situation. We're going to go to Wolf Blitch after the short break. We'll have a lot more from here in the Philippines. We'll be right back.